Well, hello everyone. Happy Monday. Now, I know you're not usually expecting a video from us on a Monday, but there were so many questions and comments from yesterday's big reveal of the backyard that we just thought we would shoot something quick, something where we just kind of went through 1, 2, 3, some of the questions that you have. And I think that'll be a fun thing to do. Won't be a long video, but it will address some of your concerns. And one concern that I have is staying healthy, staying on top of things. And one thing that helps me with that is Monocura Honey. They are the sponsors of this video. And we were talking as we were getting ready to start how each one of us respectively likes to eat it, and we consume it in great quantities. Yes, Stuart likes it on his peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's his favorite way to consume it. Leah likes it in her smoothies. I actually like it on my English muffin in the morning, and then just by spoonfuls right out of the bottle if I'm feeling like I need a little energy oomph. So you definitely want to check it out. We are as enthusiastic about it as ever because of its deliciousness, its creamy texture, and the fact that it's got a wonderful health profile of prebiotics and antioxidants. So check it out. We'll put a link in the video. So Stuart, what do you think? Let's go. Well, let's start one by one. We'll just go through the list of some of your most frequently asked questions about the backyard, and obviously I wasn't good about addressing them yesterday. It's hard to remember everything. But let's start out with one of the questions I get over and over again, and that is, what is the fate, or was the fate, of the Miss Figgy figs, the little Miss Figgy figs from the Southern Living Plant Collection? Well, one of the reasons that I didn't address it was because I was not sure what their fate was. I did not know if they had died this winter, or if they had just died back, or if they were really most sincerely dead. But I have good news, at least on one of them. They did die at the top, but I cut them back, and I'll be darned if at least the one on the south side at this point is showing some signs of growth. It's starting to green up at the base. The other one I'm keeping my fingers crossed about, because I know sometimes you are rewarded for your patience. So that is the answer to question number 1. Whatever happened to the little Miss Figgies? Okay, number 2. And I believe I answered this question, but a number of you commented and asked it again. So apparently I didn't do a very good job of answering it. And that is, what was the fate of the Silverado Sage, the little tree with the beautiful fuchsia blooms that was Leah's favorite. And Leah is here, and she is in mourning because that Silverado Sage, which I knew was a risk. I knew it was a risk putting it in. You did say that. And it succumbed. So will I plant more Silverado Sage? Absolutely, I will. It has that gray mounded look that I like back here. Boy, the blue jays, they are so noisy this morning. And I guess maybe they're upset over the Silverado Sage too. I'm not sure. But it did succumb right now. There's lavender that surrounds. I didn't dig it up. I basically just cut it off at the base to see, again, my method was to see if I could get it maybe to show some signs of life directly out of the root zone. But sadly, no, it seems to be most sincerely dead, and in its place will be some lavender. So that was question number 2. Now on to question number 3. Okay, so the other question, which I have answered a number of different times, but still keeps popping up, and this has 2 parts, is whatever happened to the rain barrel? Well, the rain barrel that was so controversial, that was at the corner of the garage, it just bit the dust this winter. It got down to below 0 degrees, even though I had the valve open and I thought it was emptied of water. It apparently was not, and it just literally, it burst at the seams. So I just decided to forego having a water barrel here, since I just don't have as much space as I did at the other house. and in its place I put a triple tier topiary juniper. Now the question arises, so what about that downspout that is right behind it that shows the angle that used to go down and was submerged into the rain barrel? Yes, there is an extender we will be putting on. We just haven't gotten to it yet. A number of you mentioned it, but it is on my list, and I will let you know when that's executed. Some of you are very keen-eyed. It has not escaped my notice, however, and definitely when I can locate the piece that was detached originally to accommodate the rain barrel, or we just get another section, I will let you know. So that's question number 3, and on to question number 4. Okay, a lot of you wanted to know about the wood tabletop, which is so interesting to me because when I first had that wood tabletop made, there were a lot of detractors. A lot of you did not like it. But I think you have changed your tune a little bit because now that and I understand that because it didn't have the softness around it. It wasn't in context. It was just kind of floating out there by itself. And it didn't look as if it matched the scene. Well, I think it does now. I love the way it warms up the space. I love how easy maintenance it is. All I have to do is kind of wipe it off. Now, some of you asked, am I worried about splitting? Am I worried about the polyurethane seal that's on it starting to gum up and slough off? And yes. And it took me a little while to get it, but I do have a tarp that I put on it to protect it. And this is a 5x7 ripstop tarp. This is the one that was recommended by Kayla. So I will cover the tabletop with this and it will protect it from moisture. Do I anticipate that periodically I will have to do maintenance on it? Absolutely, I do. Nothing is completely maintenance free in a garden, but I'll be happy to do that. And we will put a link to this tarp below if you have a tabletop that needs to be protected as well. Well, we need to move a little bit more quickly because we've got an eclipse to watch this afternoon. Oh, wow. Yeah, and if you're in the Oklahoma City area, I think it's gonna max out at about 1:45. But I'm gonna go down to my local park and I'm gonna kind of watch it with some of my neighbors. I think it'll be kind of fun. Leah, you need to remember to get a pair of the glasses from me before you leave today. The next question. People were worrying about the high wind, which is always an issue here, and the candlesticks that I have on my table. Well, if it is very, very windy and if I am concerned that the insets into the taper candle tops of the candle holders will break, then common sense would tell me that I just need to remove them from the table, so as to prevent breakage. And yes, I do. In fact, every night I put them up, and if it's not real windy, then that's a great thing. But obviously, if the next morning it's windy, then I don't put them back in place. But they are heavier than they look, and they actually have proven to be fairly wind resistant. Now, again, this is kind of, since we're talking about what's on the tabletop, some of you asked again what the name of the plant is that's on the table. It's an evergreen, and tell you what, I'm just not even going to tell you what it is. We'll try to just do a screenshot this so that you guys can read it for yourself and you'll know exactly what it is. It's basically a traveling or a juniper that typically flows and goes prostrate, but this one has been trained vertically up a pole, and that's what makes it look as if it's a topiary. So that answers those 2 riveting questions, and let's go on to the next. Someone made the comment, which was a little bit puzzling to me, that the railings were obviously for decorative purposes only because there's no way you could use them. And they must have just missed this segment of the video where I very intentionally demonstrated that that was not the case, that you can easily go up and down the steps without those plants being in the way and hold on to the railing. So maybe they just missed that segment. Yes, there are plants around them. I think they make a beautiful backdrop to the container plantings, specifically of the hellebores and the skylight better boxwood. And I think it just looks beautiful, and it's very reminiscent of my other house. But can you actually use them going up and down the steps? Absolutely. You just stick out your arm and there you go. If ever someone seems to be challenged by the presence of those pots, then I could easily move them. So let's go on to the next question. Okay, someone asked if we love the casement windows as much as we thought we would love them, and I would say absolutely, emphatically, enthusiastically, yes. We love both the fire pit and the casement windows. I think those are two of the things that Hubs really, really enjoys. I think it is comforting for him to be inside doing whatever he's doing inside, and he can hear me puttering outside. And I like it because I can hear the music, whatever we've got on Sonos on the stereo, and I can hear it while I'm working outside, and I can hear him on the inside, which is also comforting to me. So I just like the indoor-outdoor quality of that. Someone else commented that they were concerned that the Japanese maples were planted too close to the house. Well, remember, I'm in Oklahoma, and if I lived in an area where they would grow considerably larger and mature much more quickly than they will here, that might be a concern. But remember, I garden in Oklahoma, and it takes things a lot longer to get very big, and when they do, they just don't get as large as they would in other more amenable climates. So I'm not too concerned about that. Also, I think I told you that I will at some point demonstrate how I like to prune them and how I like to keep the canopy raised up. But I am absolutely thrilled. It took me a while to see the potential of the second Japanese maple that's over there by the air conditioning surround, but I think it's a beautiful solution to that problem. Before, you know, the thing about hiding utility boxes is that you want to hide them, but in my case, they have to be pretty easily accessible to meter readers, to me. Remember, this is a 1930s house, and we frequently have to open up and you know, reset a fuse or something in the fuse box. So while I want them to kind of go away, I can't let them go away completely because there is a function for them. But back to the Japanese maples, I love them. I think they are a great solution to some problems. And speaking of pruning, let's go on to the next question. Some of you asked about the olive trees, and are they going to stay where they are? You know, just in general questions about the olive trees. And yes, they will probably stay where they are with some modifications that I'm still thinking about. One of them has so many buds on it that will turn into little flowers, which hopefully then will turn into olives. One thing I do want to do is, right now they look gangly, a little bit erratic, a little bit unkempt, and I want them to have more structure, and I really want the trunks and the branches to mature, to harden up, and to thicken up. So I'm going to be doing some pruning on those. I will show you, I will bring you guys along, but that's the answer to that question. But I love the way they look, and I also love the fact that I'm really seeing much more of that Mediterranean Australian vibe that I wanted to get back here. And a lot of you also commented that you were happy to see red because I don't have any of it in my front yard, and you don't see a lot of it on Instagram and on YouTube. Well, I just love the way it looks against the reds. I love the way it pops back here, and I just love the fact that it's got a different emotional quality to it. It evokes a completely different vibe. And I think the inspiration for that came from the fact that I've got a fire pit back here. So I wanted the colors to be kind of fiery, and they all look beautiful together. I love the pillows. And also, by the way, so many of you also asked, could I please give you the link to the umbrella, which I don't think we shared. I will give you the link to the umbrella in the description box below. And also, I think, Leah, we may have been remiss and we didn't give the link to the high C boots, which if you order them and use the 15% off code Linda, you can get a discount on them. So I think that pretty much wraps up what we had to say about the links. I'm going to do a rewind in my head to see if there's any other questions that I missed, and we'll be right back. And lastly, what is to come? Some of you have asked, how quickly will all of my little rounded mounds mature, and will I get the effect that was in my inspiration picture? And I forgot to put the inspiration picture once again into the last video, so I will give it to you today. And it's basically just gray and green mounds of varying heights that just kind of cuddle up against one another and form a ground cover of sorts that will surround the brick patio. And so I will put that that inspiration picture up again. Now, how quickly will it take for this all to fill in? I imagine that by the end of this summer, it will practically be completely filled in. Some of the things like the butterfly candy, you know, those may die back during the winter, but then they come out larger and fuller. And so I anticipate that I will get maturity very, very rapidly. And of course, I will include you in its progress. And what else is to come? Well, this is kind of a fun thing. So Hubs has always wanted, and it's been difficult because of the configuration of our different spaces. He is a man who loves a good hammock. And so as an early Father's Day gift, I have already ordered him a beautiful hammock in the color palette for this backyard. I think it will look great, along with a stand. And I anticipate that he will just put it up wherever he wants in the backyard, but I imagine most of the time it will be over there kind of in the shadier area, right in front of the potting shelves. So that's what's coming up. If you want to see what I ordered, these got great reviews. It was actually something that Hubs researched, came up with, and we will put a link for both the hammock and the stand in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. As always, please make sure to share it with others. And I guess my question of the day is just this. Do you think I was able to successfully realize my vision? And do you think it looks like the vision that I originally shared with you? And I certainly feel like it did. In fact, in some ways, it's exceeded it. So thank you all for watching, and thank you to Manakura Honey, who sponsored this video and who also sweetened my tea. You guys have a great day.